Hey folks, Tom Norfleet with www.citizenshipquickly.com. Wanted to go over the 3 different ways that you can set up a business in Dubai. The first one is where you're having a sponsor, and this is where the sponsor has to be an Emirati national. And what you do is you negotiate a fee that you pay the sponsor based on just his connection with your company. Typically, sponsors don't do anything for you. It's just they're signing a sheet stating that they are your sponsor, and that's it. It's pretty much I call it kind of like paying for dirt, because he's pretty much not doing anything for you. This is where you have maybe 49% ownership, and the sponsor would own majority of the company, which is 51%. Typically, there's a side agreement that states that he doesn't own your business. He has he doesn't own any of the profits of your business. He doesn't own any of the assets when the assets sold. It's just basically on paper where he owns 51% and you own 49%, but he doesn't have access to any of your assets. There's a side agreement that's set up for that. The second way that you can do it, and typically this is done by having like a commercial license in Dubai. You'd have a joint ownership with another sponsor. The other way is by where you own 100% of the company, and it's a Dubai company, and you have a local service agent. And this is done with a professional license. It's also called a sole establishment, kind of like a sole proprietorship in the United States. It's not a corporation, it's not an LLC, it is a company, but it's more like a sole proprietorship. You do own 100% of the company, and then you make total decisions and there's no side agreement because you don't need it because you own the company. The other way is by owning a free zone company. You don't need a sponsorship from a local Emirati or a local service agent from an Emirati. So you are set up in a free zone, and you're set up under the free zone laws, which is a different set of laws than having a company in Dubai. Let me go through each one of them, and I'm going to tell you the advantages and disadvantages of each one of them, and then you can more or less make a decision from there. And then I'll tell you my opinion which one's the best one to go on. Let's start off with having a commercial license where you have an Emirati national that owns 49%. He owns 51% of the company and you own 49%. This is really the worst option to go on, and let me tell you why. I've seen this from experience and talking with people and experience myself, okay? This is the problem you run into. If you go in a partnership, even if your sponsor who owns most of the company says that he doesn't have any sort of profits of the company, if you sell it, he doesn't have any annual profits, any profits from sales, you still have a nightmare on your hand. Let me tell you why. If he does, and also, by the way, too, I would tell you, if you have a sponsor, if you're going to go that route, okay, or if you deal with the Emirati, even as a local service agent, don't let him do anything else except sign for your sponsorship. Don't let him lease out any office to you, and also don't let him do any visa type requirements that you've got. Any other type of requirements for licensing and stuff, don't let him handle it. Use an outside company. And I'll tell you, one good company for use for that is a company called OnTime, ONTIME. It's probably one of the biggest companies in Dubai that do this. When you deal with small mom and pop companies there, you're going to get screwed in a lot of cases. I've experienced this myself. Stay away from the small mom and pop companies. If you're going to get your stuff done, use OnTime. That's a good company to use. It's a big one. You're not going to have any problems with that company. But when you get it set up, what you want to do is your sponsors should be outside of getting your visa fees and all your other fees. If you use OnTime, don't use their sponsor. Use them only to get your license and to do your visa fees and any other thing that's an administrative type thing, but don't use their sponsor. Keep that separate. Okay, even if the sponsor is not part of On Time, still don't use their sponsor. You get a totally outside sponsor for that. So you've got those three different ways of doing it, but the worst way, like I said, is having it where you have an LLC or company, a corporation set up, and your sponsor owns part of it. And let me tell you why it can be a nightmare. He doesn't have ownership, and there'll be a side agreement stating that. This is the problem you run into, is if he invents fees that you owe, and you say you don't owe them, and you're wondering, why is he coming up with these fees? I don't owe him anything. You've got a real problem, because for you to switch from one sponsor to another, you're going to have to settle those fees. And if you go to court, an Emirati is going to win 100% of the time. He's a national. I'm not going to get into all the details dealing with that, but you're wasting your time even trying to take it to court, okay? And then you're going to have a nightmare, because you're literally, the only way you can get out of it is either pay him what he demands or shut your business down and just leave the Emirates. And if you can change your company's name. You would not be able to keep your company's name if you went in the free zone. You would literally have to change your company's name. You could drop that Dubai company and then go in the free zone, but the problem you run into is he can still go after you, okay? And more than likely he won't if he invented the fees, but it's a real headache, because now you've got to change everything about your company. And you would have to change the name of your company too, even if it's a free zone company. So it would be a pure nightmare. You're better off going on the other two options, which are what I call 2 and 3 options. That is where you have a local service agent, and your license is set up as what's called a sole establishment. It's a professional license. You own 100% of the company. Now, a lot of times when you go to Dubai, companies will not tell you you have that option, okay? That's option's been open actually for several years, and some people don't even know it's there. Now, you can't get it in every type of situation. You can't do it if you have a real estate company that sells real estate local properties there. You have to have a sponsor, and the sponsor owns 100% of the company. So, it depends on the type of business that you have. Consulting type businesses, typically, you can have a professional license on that. It just depends on the company, okay? But this is a good way to go, because you have a local service agent, and you negotiate what sort of deal that you pay him for being your local service agent. He's got to be an Emirati, a national, to have a local service agent. And but you own 100% of the company. You don't have to be in a free zone. It's a local Dubai company that you can do this with, okay? The advantages of this, if you have a problem with your local service agent, no big deal. You just switch, and he doesn't have to sign off. Whereas if he has a partnership with you, he has to sign off. So if he owns any part of your company, you can't switch it without him signing off. As a local service agent, where you own 100% of the company, that's different. He doesn't have to sign anything. You just switch, and he won't even know until you do have to send him a resignation letter, but he can't hold up your company from switching. Okay, you can go ahead and switch. The big advantage of having a local service agent, you own 100% of the company, and going into a free zone where you don't have to have sponsorship are these type of things I'm getting ready to tell you. And those are number one is you can have an office anywhere in Dubai. You're not restricted from having your office in the free zone. Now, what that does is you can shop more for your offices by doing that, and you have more selection, because you don't have to go just strictly in the free zone to get your office. Another thing too is the law states that if you have a free zone, you have to sign all contracts with people in the free zone. You can't just go out in Dubai and sign contracts. Now, there are people that do it, and they say they're getting by with it, but I'm telling you, you're breaking the law by going outside of that and those conditions and going in Dubai and signing contracts when you got a free zone company. So you have to look at that. And now the only advantage of having a free zone company technically is you don't have to get a sponsor, but your license is higher. That's the problem, and typically your visa fees are higher. If you add up your administrative fees with a free zone company, it's more than a Dubai company with a local service agent, providing you get your sponsorship fees down low. 90% of the people that I see overpay on sponsorship fees. Remember, this sponsor is only signing that he's a sponsor. He does nothing for you. Now, if he's giving you tons of business, referring business, and that's different. You got to look at it a little bit different, but I don't rarely ever see that. Okay, this guy's basically signing. He's a dummy in disguise. All he's doing is he's signing a contract stating that he is your sponsor or local service agent, and that's it. He's doing nothing else. So what's that worth to you? You know, when I was there, I paid $700 US a year for that. I almost run into no one that's paying that low. I ran into people spending 100,000, not dirhams, but US dollars a year for sponsorships. It's ridiculous. It's like paying for dirt. If you deal with our company, we can tie you in with sponsors that are really cheap. Remember, this guy has no ties with your company. He's just signing, basically stating he's your sponsor or local service agent. And we would advise you, don't do a joint ownership in your company with the local Emirati. You set your company up, if you can, as a local service agent, where he has no ownership of your company. He only signs to state that you're complying with the law. You got a local service agent, or go with a free zone. Don't go in a joint ownership with the Emirati. It's a pure headache. If you do it that way and you get a guy you get along with, send you business, so be it. But I'm going to tell you, you're taking a huge chance. It could wreck your whole business and all your efforts you're putting out. So those are the three ways that you want to do it. If you've got questions or comments, just send them on the comment section below. If you're also wanting to get new videos, just hit the subscription button to the right of the screen there, and we'll get those out to you as soon as they come in. If you got any other questions, just send them to us, and I look forward to talking to you on the next video. And listen to our other comments too on our videos there. And if you want citizenship by investment, we can get that as quick as 4 months. So you can contact us on that if we can help you on those. Look forward to hearing from you. Thank you.